Well, greetings. My name is Jim Wickens from NFL Draft Fanatics, and I'm going to demonstrate how the interactive player boards work. This specific video, this specific podcast is specific to the Denver Broncos. So the way NFL Draft Fanatics is designed, there are 32 NFL teams, each team with its own player boards. There are 32 unique player boards. Whatever I do right now manipulates the player board for Denver because that is the team that we are focused on. It does not affect the other 31 teams' boards. It will affect who Denver takes when somebody does a mock draft for the other 31 teams. So when you do a simulation, the other 31 teams, it's looking at the player board that the fans of those teams have set up. So you can manipulate any player board on NFL Draft Fanatics using some of the different techniques you're going to see here. Specifically, we're going to talk about a first-round challenge, a second-round challenge, and a third-round challenge. Those are by far the fastest ways to manipulate a player board. Okay, so we're going to start with Denver. And we're going to do a first-round challenge. Now, there are some, I have some objectives, right? So I need to focus on linebackers. I need to focus on defensive backs, and I need to focus on running backs. So linebacker, running backs, defensive backs. So we're going to do a first-round challenge, and the first one I'm going to do is for the linebackers. So I'm not suggesting that Denver needs to take a linebacker in round one, but I am suggesting that I can use a first-round challenge to manipulate the board the way I need to. So that's what I'm going to do. So the linebackers I need to focus on are Trotter. So I'm taking him. So a first-round challenge is 5 unique first-round picks. All 5 of my picks this time are going to be linebackers. Mondon, probably going round 1, round 2. Stutzman, notice he's 109 overall right now. Dumas Johnson, notice he's 137 right now. Dumas Johnson's probably round 2, round 3 type linebacker. Should not be 137. So I'm just doing my first round challenge with linebackers just to get them, let's say, in the proximity of where they're going to be taken. Another one is Bethune. Notice he's 254. Okay, so I just took 5 linebackers in a first-round challenge. That did not take long. We're 3 minutes into the video. I've already picked 5 players. Okay, so the next position I'm going to work on is defensive backs. So we're going to do another first-round challenge. Denver. Okay, and this time I'm going to look for the 5 defensive backs that I would target in round 1. And if one of the round 1 guys isn't there, I will take a round 2 guy just to prove a few things. So Arnold is probably a first-round DB. So I'm going to pick him. Wiggins, he's already 9th overall on the board, but he is one of the 5 players I was targeting. Kool-Aid McKinstry is the other. He's probably gone by the time Denver picks, but I'm going to confirm that by looking. Okay. There are a couple of safeties. So DeJean is already pretty high on the Broncos board, but he was one of the 5 that I was going to target. Okay. So at this point, if you look, I'm in iteration 4, it says. So a first-round challenge is 5 unique first rounds. So this time, Kool-Aid McKinstry is available. So I can prove to myself that McKinstry is high on the Broncos board, even though he's not likely to be there at the time that they pick. Okay, so the other player I was going to look for was Kitchens, the safety, but I'm guessing he went really early. But I don't see that he went. So, okay, wow. He is 63rd, so he's way down. So I'm going to pick him here. Okay, so I just did that first round challenge, and I just moved the DBs up. So sequence 1 was linebackers. The probability that any of those linebackers go in round 1 is low, but that's why I did them first. Then the next one was DBs. More than likely, all 5 of the players that I just picked are going to be right at the top of Denver's draft card right now. So if anybody does a simulation like in the next 5 to 10 minutes, Denver's probably taking a DB until I do some other manipulation. The next thing I'm going to do is running backs. Now, I am not suggesting that Denver has a high need for running back, but I do know that there are some running backs that are too low on the draft card. So I do need to deal with that. So I'm going to go Denver. I'm going to go a second-round challenge. So a second-round challenge is 10 unique second-round picks. Okay? And I don't know if Denver has a second-round pick. So and actually, memory serves me, they don't have that. So we are going to end up doing a third-round challenge, and I am going to start targeting the running backs. I don't think Denver has a second-round pick. So we're going to go third-round challenge, Denver. Third-round challenge is 15 unique third-round picks. So I will start by picking running backs with that third round, but there's not 15 running backs that I need to move up. So, okay, so Denver's board. Right now, you can see the DBs that I just took are sitting at the very top of the board. So what does Denver need? Okay, wide receiver, DB, defensive tackle. So Arnold would be being a DB. He fits that, so I'll pick him. And like I said, it said 56 picks until Denver picks again. I'm glad that my instincts kicked in. Okay, I am not suggesting Denver is going to select a running back in round 3, but I do need to move the running backs up the draft card. So one of the running backs is Devin Neal. He is going to be way higher than 155 on most big boards. So I'm picking him, and he is going to move up. Now, is he going to go from 155 to 100? Probably not. So he moved up a little. He did not move up a lot. Much easier to move somebody up in a first-round challenge or a second-round challenge. But now going back, let's verify what DBs are available. I am going to pick Lassiter in the first round. I don't think he has a first-round grade. But I am going to try to stack the board here a little bit for Denver. So because I have 15 first-round picks, I know I can use about 5 or 7 of them to manipulate the board. And just if you're doing this, when you're manipulating the board, use the first 5 to 7 picks to manipulate the board, and then the last 8 make them the good picks. Okay, so more running backs that we need in round 3. Marks is 236. He needs to be higher. Okay. So notice that Lassiter did move up considerably. King is another one that I like. He's more likely a round 2 DB, but by me picking him here, he is going to move up the Denver board. So if for some reason he falls to round 3 or Denver trades back, that part of the draft card fits the need of the team. Simulator always seems to move slower when I'm on a podcast, so I apologize if you think that that's slow. I think it's moving all right, but it always moves faster when I'm not doing a podcast live. Okay. Another running back that needs to move up, Lloyd is 248. He should be a lot higher. I believe there's one more running back, and then I can go and just start manipulating the third round challenge for other positions as well. Okay, so Burke would be another likely second round grade. Possibly if he falls to round 3, you want him at the top of the draft card. So I'm picking him to move him up the draft card. Just so if he's available in a later round, he should be sitting right at the top. Okay, one more running back. Isaiah Davis, 351. So I'm picking him in the third round. So more than likely, anybody you pick in a third round challenge will be sitting at the top of the draft card in round 4 or 5. So if I pick 15 players in a third round challenge and you pick 15, the 5 players we have in common will be the most likely third round picks. And then the 10 players that I have different and the 10 players you have different, that list of 20 would be the 5th and the 6th round picks type situation. Like they would be high enough on the board that they're more than likely going to be round 5 type value because we didn't agree. So they moved up, but they didn't move up as much as the 5 players we agreed on. Okay, so at this point, I've manipulated the DBs. So, and I'm going to target Burke and King because they're likely out of place on the draft board. I'm going to take Wiggins so he moves higher than Burke. Okay, so some of what you're doing in a third round challenge is look at like where 2 players are, and if you think they need to be reversed, you pick the player at the bottom. And you hope that his value increases high enough. And with a first round pick, I can pretty much guarantee you that the player I picked is going to move higher. Okay. With a third round, it's not always as black and white. Okay. If Bethune is there in round 3, that is a really good pick. So he was one of the linebackers that I took in the initial first round challenge. Okay. So Verse should be higher than Burke. So I'm picking Verse there. So that's some of how I am thinking about the draft card. So don't focus on what the simulator's doing on the left. The algorithm for the round challenges is to try to validate the draft card. So it's purposely being random. It's not going to be as good as just doing a straight up like 4-round mock, because what it's trying to do is ask you, are these players that you see here in the correct order? And if they're not, for example, if I like Dorless will increase in value and the 6 players above him will decrease by a fraction. And then the more fractional decreases a player has, that's going to shift their value down. So Dorless moved up a little bit, but it's more of me ignoring the same players over and over again 15 times that's going to shift them down. So I'm shifting them down by 15 fractions. Okay. So Newton should be higher than probably everybody there except Verse. So I'm picking Newton there. And I see that Drake May was pretty high on the Denver draft card as well. I will let the Denver fans decide if they want a new quarterback. I don't consider that to be my role as the advocate for the site. Okay, so who else do I think is worthy of a third round pick? I like Landon Jackson in the third round, definitely. I'd take Landon Jackson in round 2. So if he's there in round 3, that's a really good pick. O'Dunn's round 1, as well as Latu, would be good picks. So I'll make sure I take each of them at least once to push them higher on the draft card. A third round challenge is 15 unique third rounds. So I'm going to do 15 first round picks, 15 third round picks. There's no second round for Denver, but if they did have a second round pick, I would be picking 15 players in round 2. They don't have to be unique. You just have to make 15 second round selections. For the third round challenge, the third round picks are the ones that are unique. Okay, I like the guard from Washington. If you can get the round challenges, whether it's a second round challenge or a third round challenge, where you're always picking the top player on the draft card, that's a draft card that is set up that basically agrees with you. This early in the draft process, we're probably not going to have too many all A+ picks, which is the top player on the draft card. We're still setting the draft cards up. This is being recorded on December 12th. So we're still working on the draft cards, just trying to get the players approximately to where people think they will be picked, focusing pretty much on rounds 1, 2, and 3, and then there's going to be some fallout that'll trickle to round 4. So we are in the third round here. I like Blake Fisher in round 3. So the top of the draft card is looking really similar to what I think matches how Denver sees it. I'm going to pick Stutzman. He is a probable first-round linebacker. He's probably going to be one of the top 2 or 3 linebackers in the class. I like Zinter in round 3. So at this point, I'm hunting the draft card for who I believe is third round value. Those are the players that should shift up. I like Singer in round 3. Okay, I'm at iteration 11 right now. So I have 4 more iterations and the third round challenge is complete. when you do the round challenges, because player boards, I pick a player, he's going to move up in value, and it's going to take the value of any player above them and subtract and move them down. Definitely hunt on the second or third page to see if a player's value is out of whack. And here's what I mean by that. So I just finished, I believe it was iteration 11, and I just finished iteration 12. So I've got 13, 14, 15 left. Okay. So the first page, you look at this and you say, hey, that looks like a pretty good board for Denver, right? So I'm going to the second page and saying, okay, well, will any of these players be a first round pick? Like Drake May would be a first round pick, right? And then if I come to the third page, Worthy is a first round pick. So he's been ignored enough when people have used the simulator for Denver that he's fallen off the first two pages, but that player is definitely worthy of a first round pick. So don't assume that the player was taken in the simulation. Dig, go to that second, go to the third, go to the fourth page when you do the round challenges and say, is there a player there that you like better than the players? Let's say in this case, I found a player on page 3 that I like better than the players on page 2. Okay, so I just finished iteration 13. I've got 2 more to go. So, for example, again, Braylon Trice, Johnny Wilson, even Mason Smith, all 3 of those guys could be considered in round 1. But if you ignore them enough, they're going to fall off that first and second page. So, and again, on a third round challenge, if you know that there's a player on the board that is significantly misvalued, you can take him in a third round challenge once. He's probably going to be sitting there for you in the 4th or the 5th round if you do just like a regular mock. So, because this is my last third round pick, and I like Rook in round 3. Okay, so let's look at how well we set that draft card up. The way we will evaluate that is by doing a 5-round Denver mock. Okay, so we're just going to go in do 5 rounds, Denver, and we're not toggling any of the challenges. We're just 5 rounds, Denver. And think about the players I took in round 1. The most recent player I took in round 1 is probably who is sitting at the top of the draft card here. Okay. So Dallas Turner is who I just took, and he's number 2. So if this is the board as it's presented to Denver, who are they taking? Are they going to go with the wide receiver Worthy? They took a wide receiver in round 1 last year. I don't think they would go wide receiver in round 1, but, I'm not a Denver fan, so maybe you know the GM better than I do. So I think Turner or Wiggins would be really good picks here, and Latu also would. I'm going to go Wiggins. He was the number 1 player on the draft card. I'm gonna go there. Okay, now for round 3. Denver needs an offensive tackle, and Monheim fell to round 3. So I'm going to go Monheim here. But just observe, Singer I took in a 3rd round challenge. Fatanu I did. Thrash I did. Dorless I did. Fisher I did. Landon Jackson I did. Those are players where I all took in a 3rd round challenge, and look at where they are in Denver's card. Okay? So I'm going to go Monheim here. I doubt he's there in round 3. I know people that have a round 1 grade on him. Okay, so again, looking at, in this case, what round did it make it to? So we are in round 4. Pick 131. And what I'm observing is not too many of the players I took in the 3rd round challenge are available right now. So we would have to do more 3rd round challenges. Like if we want to stack this board for Denver, Horton, I've taken in other 3rd round challenges for other teams. I did not take him this time for Denver. Have I taken a wide receiver? I have not taken a wide receiver. But they also, they DB offensive tackle. So it says wide receiver is a need. So I'm going to take the wide receiver. And then we have a round 5 pick. If I take an offensive lineman, yes. I will take Jasheen Davis to finish that out. Kettle on the safety. Okay. So let's talk about the grading for a little bit. A+ is the player that's at the top of the draft card at the time of the pick. So Wiggins was number 1 on the draft card. That was who I picked. That's why I got an A+. Monheim, I believe, was 4th on the draft card at the time I picked him. So he wasn't the top player, but he was in the top 8. So as long as you're in the top 8, you get an A. A B means the player was between rank 9 and 16 at the time of the pick. So those 2 players were between rank 9 and 16. Okay, so my name is Jim Wickens from NFL Draft Fanatics. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I would truly appreciate that. That would be at NFL Draft Fanatic, and there's no I in Fanatic. Okay, if you do a mock draft, tag me in it. Make sure I see it, and I will probably provide comments and or questions. If you have comments, I would love to hear them, both good and bad. This is an interactive simulator. So everything I just did for Denver, people will see in their mock drafts until a Denver fan comes in and says, Jim, you don't know what you're doing. This is the way Denver's draft is going to go. And then your mock draft is going to beat mine. Okay. So it tends to be about what is most recent. But when it comes to like rounds 3, 4, 5, and 6, it becomes more consensus. So if I do a third round challenge and I pick 15 players and you do a third round challenge and you pick 15, it's those 4 that overlap that are going to be at the top of the card in round 3. Okay. And then it's the ones that we didn't agree on are going to be considered value in round 4 and or round 5 and or round 6. Okay. So again, any questions, please find me. These videos are going to be on YouTube so that people can see kind of how the simulator works. And if you need to listen to somebody while you use it for the first time, because it is different. Okay. This simulator is not like the others. Okay. It is highly interactive. Every mock draft that you do is going to affect the mock drafts which come after. It's designed to do that so it is more random. Each time you come in, it should be a little bit different than it was the last time. And that was the point of how it was designed. We don't want to be the same mock draft over and over again. We want it to be random enough that you're seeing something different, because the NFL draft is really random. If you tell me something's not realistic, I want you to show me a simulator that could have even come close to predicting the first 10 picks of the 2023 draft. Right? There were so many trades, and when I was watching it, I didn't see half of what happened coming. So as far as designing the simulator, I want it to be authentically random. So there's legitimate logic to how random it is, but it's still within what I would call the scope of being almost normal. And we're all simulating something that is very unpredictable. So I wish you success. I wish Denver good luck the rest of the year. And as you start doing mock drafts, I hope you look at this video. I hope you try the simulator and provide feedback and tell your friends all about it. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a great evening.